Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Femme Tell All podcast. My name is Madison Bellissimo.
And I'm Ruth Devereaux.
And today we are covering periods.
And the reason why is because we were supposed to have a meeting the other day, and we both called each other and we said,
Fuck this.
not filling up for it today.
Yeah. We both went hard pass.
Yeah. And we go, why?
What's going on? We're so motivated. We love doing this. Like,
Yeah.
we've never canceled anything.
Yeah.
And we were just like, we both are synced up.
It happened.
It does happen.
It happens.
And it happened to us.
Yeah.
And we were both in our just pre,
Yeah.
I was going to say prepubescent, pre-period phase where the world feels like it's ending.
And everybody's against you. Your body is against you.
I want to lay on this floor right
Yes.
now and crawl into a ball.
And nobody talked to me.
Yeah. And that's how we felt.
Yes. We feel better today, but we decided we would still
So much
talk
better.
about periods.
Yeah, literally. But we're currently surfing the Crimson Tide.
Together.
What do they call?
Yeah, it's
the Crimson Tide.
Crimson Wave.
Crimson Wave?
Is it?
Tide or wave, we're here.
Yeah. Together.
And so, yeah, we want to talk about it. We want to destigmatize it.
Yes.
Again, going back to our mission statement is really bringing taboo subjects to the forefront from a feminine perspective. And what better to talk about than something that is only
For women.
experienced by females? Yeah, exactly. And, or we should say female born or anyone anyone that has a uterus.
Yeah. Okay.
Literally, this is a thing that happens to everyone that it's biologically supposed to happen to
Well, and
someone.
I think that I know that when I was younger, I felt like it was very dirty and like you're not clean during this time and you're off limits or whatever that is. And like we kind of want to combat that feeling and that thought and also like anything that you might be feeling and going through. Like we all experience PMS. Some of us have different levels of it. Some of us go through very painful periods that other people might not be able to relate to.
PCOS, there's, or you have months and months in between your period. You have very irregular menstrual cycles. You have something, and whether that's painful or not, it's just irregular, and that can really throw off you can get hair loss, you can get acne, you can get hair growth. You can have so many things just because of our hormones related.
I have a friend that gets cyst every time on her period.
Really? Ovarian cysts?
Yeah. And so there's so much that our bodies go through when we're going through our monthly cycles. So we wanted to just like walk through it. Like some people, what I wanted to ask Madison is, how old were you when you first got your period?
I was 12, I want to say.
Yeah,
I think I was 12. No, I was 13. I was 13.
What was that experience like?
It was, thank you for asking. It was pretty traumatic, like I think, they warn you. I don't know about if they did this for you in school, but like they sat us down and did like a whole session, like a.
But I don't think it was very thorough. Like I thought when you got your period, all the blood came out at once.
Oh, really?
I did. I thought I was going to be in the pool and it was going to be that tragic scene of you filling
fucking
me.
Jaws.
Yeah.
Dum, 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 dum. They're like, Ruth got her period. Everyone, Ruth got her period.
Out of the pool, kids.
That's so sad that you felt that way.
I did.
Well, there's a lot of misconceptions, and I'll get
Absolutely,
into that. Like, I actually have a very funny story about how I started getting my period, but like the actual day I got my period, I remember like blood that I saw, because I'll go back to that. But the first time I saw blood, I was at school and I was coming home. We had a carpool set up between like us and 3 other families, and I remember being like I wasn't bleeding enough that I was like, oh my God, I'm bleeding through my pants. But I was like, I have to tell my mom as soon as I get home. And I remember just like coming in, throwing off my backpack and going to the bathroom and then just being like, Mom, I think I started my period. And I remember her coming in and being like, did you? Oh my God. What? Do you feel okay? Like talk to me. And thankfully she was really cool about it. But 2 very funny stories about how I started my period is I was actually starting my period way earlier than I thought. And I was spotting. I had like 3 months of just spotting periods.
Oh, wow.
And I fully thought I was dying. And the even funnier part is I was like, you know what? I saw it. I was like, brown. What the fuck is this? This is not like, I was like, what's going on? Because it's dried or it's old blood, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, huh? And I remember just being like, oh, I'm dying. Okay, cool. Heard.
Okay,
and
cool.
And then I went, this will kill my mom. I can't tell her. So I hid my underwear that had spotting in it. I know, dude. It breaks my heart.
That is so
I was like, I'd rather go out and just die and it'd be unexpected for my mom than actually tell her. I don't want to put on the burden that she's like, oh, my daughter's dying. Like, I was like, it would be better if I just die, I just die. You know, she'll be like, it'll be sad for her, but it won't be like leading up to it. I was like, oh, I'm dying. And I was like, damn. And it happened 3 months in a row. I was like, God damn, dude, what's happening with me? And I didn't put the math together and I didn't realize it. Because those instructional videos don't show it like that. Yeah. They show it like blood. Yeah. I remember they're showing the insertion of a tampon. Yeah. It was like with the leg propped up on the toilet. And then and they show like a almost like an X-ray version of that. Yeah. And I was like, oh God, what are they doing? Are you okay? And it's like tampons are so much easier. But I remember like the first time putting in a tampon. Oh my God, about that.
Same.
But yeah, so I thought I was dying. Yeah. And then I remember after she was like, oh my God, are you okay? And I was like, yeah, well, I had this brown stuff. And she was like, oh, honey, that's spotting. Aww. And I remember just like waddling over to my, this is so, oh my God. This was, I had a laundry basket and it had like a thing in it, like a cloth thing within it. Yeah. Like that would hold the clothes. I hid it under the cloth in there and I like pulled out all these underwear and I was like, is this spotting too? She was like, honey.
Oh my God.
She was like, why didn't you tell me? And it's not like I hid anything from my mom. I think that was literally the only thing I've ever hid from her in my life. It was just so funny that I was like, oh, I'm dying.
Such a sweet story.
Can't tell my mom. I can't tell my mom. It'll break her heart. It'll break her heart. And so that's one thing. And then the other funny story about when I first started my period, I was like, oh, you know, and my sister's 7 years older than me. So we had like a lot of tampons and pads. And I was like, what do I do with these things? You know, and they're showing me. And I was just like, oh. And I remember being like, you're just overwhelmed. I remember just being like, so I'm a woman now. You know, like, it's like the weight of the world was on me. I was just like,
what's the hormones do?
Yeah, your hormones are out of whack. And I remember I was like, Mom, don't tell Dad. And she was like, honey, it's okay. And I was like, no, I don't want him to treat me differently. You know, I was like so weird about it. And I was like, I just it's so embarrassing. Just don't tell him. And she was like, okay, I won't tell him. And then 3 hours later, my dad, who's so affectionate and lovely with us always, but he was so busy with work that sometimes he would just come home and kiss us. And then like, you know, he would hear about our day at dinner and stuff like that. He came home and was like, hi, honey, how's it going? You good? And I was like, Mom, like I knew right away. I was like, Mom, you told him. And she was like, honey, I had to. It's a momentous occasion. I was like, I asked one thing of you. And I was like, Dad knows that I have a period now. Like everything was just like the end of the world, right? But we're kicking. We're having good. And now, you know, and it's so second nature now. And honestly, I could get into my current day periods, which is a whole other thing because I have the copper IUD, which we could talk about. Yeah. What was your experience?
Not quite as funny.
Not as dramatic?
I know.
It's so weird. Not everyone thinks they're dying and then thinks the world is ending.
I think it was around the same age as you. I was probably like 11 or 12. I was in California visiting my dad and my stepmom, and I got my period. I told my stepmom, she like pulled me into the bathroom, gave me pads, and then she told me now I can't have unprotected sex. So I was like,
I'm not having any sex. I still play with stuffed animals. Thank you so much, though.
Thanks for that word of advice.
But now that you said it, I'll stay off the unprotected sex. Oh my God,
that was my introduction.
I'm so sorry.
But I can't remember. Like I remember waking up and like it was like through the night, which was almost like worse because you wake up and you're just like, oh shit.
Oh yeah. I think my sister started her period, not to drag her, but I think she started it like that. Like she woke up and it was a lot of blood.
Yeah. Well, and that's probably aided the thought that like it comes all at once.
It's gushing and you can't stop it. And you're just plugging it as much as it's like. And men have so many misconceptions about periods. Like I get so angry with them. There's this like segment on TikTok and Instagram. What is it? We'll tag it. It's like something flow, and they're asking men about questions about like periods, and they're like, hey, can women pee with the tampon in? And like literally 9 out of 10 men are like, no, I don't think she can do that. No. And I'm just like, how have you've had sex with a woman more than likely.
Right. Seriously.
You've seen it all. You dealt with it. But I'm like, and you really don't know these things? And they're like,
they're probably just thinking of therapy hole.
I know, but it's just so insane to me.
I know,
like,
I know.
we know enough. Like, I know about uncircumcised to circumcised. Sorry. Like, I know now. I didn't know for a while. I had a partner, and then I was like, "Oh, wow, look at it! That's so crazy!" Yeah, my God. But like, I learned about that because we should know about people's bodies. Like, if you can be like, if you're dealing with it,
but especially if like a period is such a consistent part of a woman's life too, that if you've had any long-term partnership, you should know what a woman's going through, at least so you can help or.
Yes.
Console.
And my dad, God bless him, my dad can't even hear about periods. Like, he's like, yeah. Like, he literally is a child about it. And I'm like, what? What? And I'm like, no wonder women feel so uncomfortable. And my dad really, I want to give him a gold star for like we pretty much 98% of everything else he does. He's amazing. I love my dad. But that is one of those things where I'm like, fucking man up. Like, and I don't use that term ever, but I'm like, you need to be okay with like menstrual cycles. Like, this is biologically what happens.
Remember the other day we were like, and we were just learning about this, so I want to research this more before we talk about this. But there's actually like where women are taking their period blood and putting it on their face because it's actually very nutritious and good for your skin. And we've been taught that this is dirty and bad and like don't touch it. But it's actually like there's a lot of like nutritious factors of it.
It's very clean blood considering, which is hilarious because it is so stigmatized to be this like dirty gross like don't even talk to me about it. I don't want to hear about tampons. I don't want to hear about this, like, and we have to discreetly cover it all the time. I remember like still to this, it's very rare, like now in my own house, like my house and like my parents' house, if I have to grab a tampon or a pad on my purse, I'm not like,
no, yeah.
I'm not doing like an espionage. Like, I used to do that. Of course, in fucking middle school, I'd be like tuck it under my dress and be like, I gotta go. I would like take forever to go to the bathroom, and then I'd be like, oh, it was like there was such a line. And they're like, Maddie, it's in the middle of second period. I'm like, there was a line. And I'm like, now I'm like, I don't give a fuck. Like, if you're gonna be weird about it, you're gonna be weird about it. I'm not gonna hold your shame about my period.
Yeah,
sorry. Exactly. But yeah, it's just so funny. Like, I think so many people are so weird about it. And
I think even like in other cultures across the world, a lot of girls still have to stay home from school or like are cast out of society in a way during and like put into like period huts where it's like looked at in a certain way. And like, obviously America's not as bad as that, but like there still is the stigma that we have to fight against.
Absolutely. And I think like this pressure on young girls, let's say at this point, 12, I think you're a girl. You're a baby. Yeah. And now we think we're women. And like we are sometimes handled that like where it's just like, here you go. Now you're a woman now, so you can't have unprotected sex. Like that is fucking wild. And like I understand why she said that because she didn't have her own kids, right?
And she had boys.
Okay. Yeah. So she probably was just like, I've never had this conversation before. Yeah. Not commending her for what she said, but I think like she just was ignorant to like how to handle approach the subject. It is a heavy subject. Yeah. But I will say like we need to stop treating young girls like this is some burden. And like, yes, we need to educate. We need to like make sure that they know that if you have sex on a period, but like it shouldn't be like, now that's your burden to bear because you have the period, so you'll be the one, and you will be the one that get pregnant.
Well, we talk about like even the pink tax, right? Like of all of these like these things that we're required to purchase for ourselves that are taxed
not free
heavily,
free. They should be free.
They should be free.
We should be able to go to any store and be like, oh yeah, I need some pads, I need a tampon, I need a menstrual cup, I need a fucking ring,
whatever that is. Yeah.
That's what I got. Okay, bye guys.
Yeah.
You know, like.
But instead, we're like sold a bill of goods for all of them.
And it's taxed, which is fucking crazy. Because if you're going to charge me, fine. If you're going to charge me, fine. Yeah. But it's taxed.
Yeah.
That's insane. Yeah. I didn't choose to have a period.
No, and I would choose not to very happily.
Yeah. And I will say there are some, like when I talk to women that have had children and stuff like that are like, yeah, it's worth it. Like, that's why we bear this for so many years so we can experience childbirth.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's a lovely thing. And I'm glad that there are people out there
I'm happy for
that
you.
feel, I'm just like, I don't know if I'll get to that point or if I'll ever feel that way. And again, I'm on the luckier side. Like, I don't know how you have your periods. I mean, current day, I'm not luckier, but I was. Like, my OG period.
Yeah.
Hey, girl, love you. You gave me no cramps.
Yeah.
I was like, it was like a 4-day period.
My periods used to be like that, where it'd be 3 days tops. Like, it'd be one, like, start day, heavy day, and then, like light day. 3 days. When I just got my IUD put back in, now it's so weird. Like, it's been almost a year now that I've had it back in. It still hasn't stabilized to where it's like, it starts really slow and then it's like heavy 3-4 days. And then like, it's like gotten so much longer, and it only happened after I got the IUD put back in.
Yeah, no, I mean, we're advocates for the IUD
we
here.
We really are. Like, I'm totally against hormonal birth control, which we still need to do an episode
We
on.
will.
But like anything that we kind of do to our bodies, like we're changing.
Oh, absolutely. The chemistry of it. Yeah.
What about you?
I mean, for me currently, I have like a 12-day period.
Oh, that's right.
It's fucking insane. I should not be dealing with that. And
that's like half the month.
I know, it really is. It really is. And I'm so sad about it. And I'm like, and I wonder why I'm depressed half the time. I'm like, because your hormones are in flux. Like, I literally started.
Well, it's also, sorry, not to interrupt, but it's so uncomfortable when you're bleeding. Yes. Because you don't feel like.
I have to do so many things. I'm also a cute underwear girly. I don't want to wear my period. I don't wear 12 days a week.
12 days a week.
12 days, thank you, a month. That can be the clip. 12 days a month. And I don't want to because I'm like, and then you have to, there's so much baggage that comes with it. And then I have to have a purse that has this and then this and then.
Well, then just like, even like working out is less comfortable.
No.
Like,
and I don't, and I'm also like, I'm that
just a reminder, we are still on our period, so we're very agitated right now. Please bear with us.
We're really getting into it. But, and I'm also, good, Maddie, let's use the English language. I'm also a health guru girly. So I've like studied cycle syncing. I'm like really heavy into that, and I'd love to touch on that a little today. I'm no expert, but I share what I know.
Yeah.
But so then in those studies, they're like, when you're on your period, you really should be resting and restoring yourself and like giving yourself like warm liquids, warm foods. You really need to like, not need to, but they're like, you do not be doing a HIIT workout when you're on your period. Like, so many women push through it. Yeah. And they're like, it's not good for you.
Is it the period or PMSing? Because I feel like that's when I'm the weakest, is during my PMS week.
Yeah, I think it's like the first couple of days for me. Like the PMS into the, like today I took a Pilates class and I started in a plank and I was like, and I was like, this is normally very easy for me. But I notice anytime I'm in a workout class and I'm like, like huffing and puffing, I'm like, either my period is coming or I'm yep, I'm blinking. I'm like, oh, okay, we're good. So it's one of those things, like,
it's funny though, because I just realized this. I just learned about this. I never like put 2 and 2 together that I was weaker during that time period. Yeah.
Well, and you're listening to your body, thank goodness. Like, and you know, even if it because I get in my own way. That's what I was saying. It's really difficult with the 12-day period because then I'm like, I can't just not work out 12 days a fucking month. Like, that's so against like how I want to run my life.
Yeah.
But I'm like, that's why I try to choose like the more low impact, like Pilates, bar, things like that, yoga during those times, because I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't adjust to the 12-day period. Like, and it's, people are probably at home like, 12 days? Yes. But it's not like full bleeding during any of that. Like, it's very light for the majority of it. But this is year 4 on having my copper IUD.
Wow. And it's still like never stabilized.
Well, it's stabilized. I 28 days on the dot. The girl's like, I'm back, bitch. And I'm like, so good to see you. And mostly I am like, so good to see you. But I'm like, no, I'm kidding. Says the girl that's been abstinent. But anyway, it's one of those things that like, I am glad. And it is something for me. I know it's not everyone's body, but I notice that like, if I'm consistent in my days with my menstrual cycle, I do feel like it's a marker of health for me. I'm like, okay, your hormones are mostly intact. Yeah, like, you're doing good. Okay, great. And it is consistent. It's consistent, like, but it's been consistently 12 days for like 4 years.
Wow.
And I'm like, can I stop, please. And
even like half of that, geez.
I know. Even 6 days would have been be a lot. And that's a normal, I feel like, period for people. For sure, normal to longer.
Yeah.
I know I'm like definitely in the minority here.
Yeah.
And when I talk to certain doctors about it, like I'm iron deficient now.
Which I'm like, oh my
gosh. Yeah. Because I'm like, that makes sense. Like they were like, oh girl, you're anemic. And I was like, why? Bleeding 12 days a month makes you anemic? That's so weird. I'm like, what? I need to eat a steak now, which I'm okay with. But I'm just like, damn, it does affect more than you think. And I think men do not think about this. They're not thinking, Maddie's walking to her little grocery store thing on her 12th day of bleeding this month. Like no one's thinking like we're doing this while we're doing our jobs, while we're picking up our kids from daycare, when we're having sex with our husbands, when we're, like, you are dealing with this. This is something we always deal with.
Oh, this was something I was thinking about when I was thinking about this episode today, because some people watching this might say like, oh, this is why women can't do XYZ because like this, da 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 da. But then something that one of Neil's doctors said today, she is a chiropractor and she's also does Eastern medicine. And she said that she was happy she'd gotten in 5 to 6 accidents when she was younger because it like messed up her body. She's like, but now anybody that tells me about a pain they have, I'm able to relate to. And I think the reason that so many studies have been done that say that women are better leaders is because we are able to experience all of the emotions, whether it's like we're like very focused and or we're like in a ball and we're crying. Like we've gone through all of those, that anybody that comes to us, we're able to relate to that emotion. We're able to relate to that thought and that feeling and be able to lead in that factor. Absolutely. So I feel like what people have touted as a weakness for women is actually our strength.
A huge strength.
Yeah.
A huge strength. And I agree. I'm so glad that you pointed that out because I think it's not talked about. It's not even brought up. It's not a conversation because as soon as you bring up period, it's like, it's like a bad subject that people are like, I don't want to hear about it. Ew, it's gross. Blah, 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 blah. And I'm like,
or it's a negative against women, like, oh, like you're like off your rocker, or you're too emotional.
Oh, you're like, just so, you're just like, you must be PMSing. Yeah. Like, no, I'm not.
And
you're just being a dick.
Watch the fuck.
Yeah. But like, I just, it's so wild to me how impressionable it is, yet how little we talk about it. And I'm so glad that you said no about it because I'm like, it's astounding to me when those like segments that I found on TikTok and Instagram, and it's for voting. The whole thing is to bring awareness for voting on reproductive rights, which we obviously believe in here. But it was just one of those things that I was like, half of the population that is voting on reproductive rights has no clue about what's going on in a woman's body or a person with a uterus's body. Yeah. I was like, that is even more infuriating when they like stick 10 toes down and they're like,
this
don't get it.
Happen.
Yeah. And I'm like, you don't get it.
You don't get it.
Yeah. So it is unfortunate. And
tell me about the first time you tried a tampon.
Oh, God. I literally like flashback in my eyes. That one was also traumatic. I was on a field trip, but a far away one. I live in California. We live in California. I was raised in California. I was on a trip in the Florida Keys.
Oh my God.
With my 8th grade class.
No.
And I was like, my period was still so early on that like it wasn't consistently every 28 days or whatever. Yeah. And I was like, I'm going to get it probably. And I did. I got it like our second day there. It was a week trip. And I was like, God.
Oh, no.
And I hadn't used tampons yet because I didn't need to. I was like able to like, I'm not going to do it. So then my sweet like teacher, coach, I'm not going to say her name, but she was a coach and she was lovely. She actually was nice enough to like teach me and walk me through it. Not inside. She like talked me through the door, which was really kind of her because sweet. I was with other young women that were kind of like, some of them had been like, yeah, I've used like 5 tampons before. It's like, that's how like early we were in. It was like, yeah, I've done it like 3 times. Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
You haven't done it?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It's been pretty crazy. And then there was her. She was like the only woman chaperone, I think, or like one of the only women chaperone. And she was a younger woman, so I felt comfortable with her. And she talked me through it. But the fucked up part was we were in like bumfuck nowhere in Florida at this one point. Maybe I shouldn't say that. I don't know how problematic that phrase is. So sorry if I'm offending anyone. But just a very weird no grocery store nearby. So she had to go to like a convenience store in the corner, and she got me cardboard applicator tampon. Yep, your face. For my first one. And I didn't even realize that. I was like, once I had the plastic applicators, I was like, when did you get this? But I don't think they
probably didn't even have the option.
They must have not had it. And they had just the cardboard, which again, it's not like horrible, but it's not it doesn't glide as easy. Like think about it as sex, or thinking like if you're putting a dry piece of like paper in there as opposed to like slippery plastic.
Yeah. A little
different. And at that point, like, probably. And at that point, again, I didn't really have my period full-fledged. It was just like, I should put in a tampon. And I remember, we're going to get into detail here. Okay. I remember you pretty much what they told me, and this is true to anyone who's not had their period or doesn't understand. They were like, when you don't feel it, it's in the right place. And I was like, huh? And they were like, once it's in the right place, you won't feel it at all. You won't have any discomfort. And I was like, okay. But I was like, there's no way. Like, you're going to feel it. It's up there. Like, there's no way. And I remember the first couple of times I did put it way too shallow. And I remember feeling it. It wasn't super painful, but I remember
it's uncomfortable,
like, like, I felt like.
It's so funny. Like, you even talking about it, it's like taking my brain back.
To
like,
when?
Like, it's like. It's such visceral memories when you think about it, but it takes like almost like something to initiate.
Yeah, something to like unlock it. Yeah, I haven't thought about this in years.
Yeah.
And now, obviously, that I'm like a tampon pro, I've done some crazy shit, like as far as like menstrual cups and things like that. But I remember once I started using tampons more and I got the plastic applicator and then I put it in the right place. Not like I was putting it in a wrong, but more like as far in as it needed to be. Then I was like, oh, you really don't feel it at all. Holy shit, this is so freeing. This is amazing. This technology is amazing. But then you think about like toxic shock syndrome and you think about all those things. It's so scary.
Such a strong fear of that.
I know, because they fearmonger us. I don't know one woman. I don't know one woman who's gotten toxic shock. Not saying that it's not a thing.
That's so true.
Is this a conspiracy theory?
Why?
Yeah, no,
so
but I'm
true.
sure it's happened.
I'm sure it has. But how long do you have to leave it in there? If like I've definitely left some in for too long, and I'm like,
me too.
Huh?
Yeah. But like, don't fuck with it.
Yeah,
like,
don't test.
Yeah, don't test it. But like, I was like, I remember reading that on the fucking directions as if like I was going down in a plane crash and you're reading the fucking thing. How do I get off this plane? You're reading the tampon thing, like, and you insert, and oh god, okay, in 6 to 8 hours. How specific is 8 hours? Like, is it as soon as it enters, or like, do I put it? Like, you're just like.
I remember even before I got my period, this woman that I know, she was like, we were going somewhere. She's like, oh, I have to run in and change my tampon. I'm like, how does she know she has to change it?
Yeah.
Like, so it was.
I know it's so second nature, you know, obviously. But like, I don't think men really think about this and I'm like, you know what I've heard about? Well, first of all, I want to hear about your first time.
Again, not as traumatic as yours.
Man,
I was at like I was with my sisters.
I love that for you. I'm so glad. It shouldn't be traumatic or dramatic.
But I was with my sisters. We were at my mom's friend's house, and there was a pool. And I'm like on my period. I'm like, oh, I can't get in the pool. And my oldest sister Rebecca was like, I'll show you how to put a tampon in. And I was like, no, I'm not ready. She's like, it's fine. And like, so she like helped me.
Rebecca, we love her. We love Becca.
We love you, Becca.
That's awesome. That's how it should be. It should be really stress free.
Yeah.
And
but
like,
I do remember also like not doing it correctly for a long time and feeling the uncomfortableness. Yeah,
feeling
like
I don't know how to describe it other than that
I know
physicality.
Exactly what you mean. Anybody that's used a tampon knows exactly the feeling you're talking about. I feel so
uncomfortable. Yeah, but now I'm like, oh shit, oh fuck, when did I put that in?
Yeah.
I'm like. Before I went to the grocery store, fuck, okay, you know, and that's kind of how it is now. But I was gonna say one thing that I've seen online with like the new wave of like parents, specifically, I would say fathers, becoming more involved with like talking to their daughters about like sexual health and things like that, and being very open and like not weird about like what their bodies do. I've seen the trend of like throwing a period party.
That's so cute.
And I love that. Like, make it more of a like, yes, this sucks.
Should we do a dual period party every
No, we
month?
deserve one. But I was like, that's so sweet.
That is really
like,
cute.
instead of making it, and like, obviously, you don't want to like dramatize. There are some people that are going to be more shy. Like, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to hear, you know. Yeah. But I just want us to like take the stigma away, where you don't want if your daughter, your cousin, your goddaughter, your niece starts their period, starts their period. I don't want you to, if you're a man, to feel like, oh, I can't talk to her about it. I can't, you know, like I think making it like, I got you some Ben and Jerry's. I got you some like trashy magazines.
Movie,
I got whatever.
No Strings Attached, where she's like, did you make me a period mix?
Yeah. A period. That's beautiful. Yeah, like that would be so fun. If someone made one that was like all about bleeding, hilarious. I think that's hilarious. So cute. And I've seen so many like, you know, like the boyfriends and the husbands on TikTok that like have it on their phone. Aww. They know when their girlfriend's getting their period. They know when their fiance, their wife is getting their period, their partner, and they like preemptively. Yeah. Like there's this one girl that I follow that's so lovely. She's so sweet. And her husband every month buys her a bag of goodies for her period. And it's like all of her favorite things. And it's like maybe $20.
That is so sweet.
You don't have, that's like really, I mean, that's going above and beyond, but I love it. I'm like, don't, if you want to go higher, go ahead. Like, I will not stifle your success. But I think that was such a sweet sentiment. And she's like, every month he does it. He never forgets. And he like gives her like her favorite chocolate bars and I'm like,
that is so sweet.
It's not that hard.
It's not that hard.
Get me a candle. Get me a chocolate bar. Get me some flowers. Yeah. That's it. That's it. And like, it's just existing. And I'm existing with a bleeding. Like, that would be nice. That would be so nice. And I'm like, no, really.
Seriously, it's not that hard. Like, I think it is because it can feel like a lonely thing, especially when you're feeling so agitated and you feel like, oh, I feel like uncomfortable. My body feels uncomfortable. Yeah. And you're just having to deal with it on your own. To have a partner that steps up or acknowledges it or does something small to even just be like, here, let me take a little bit of that.
I'm taking burden off your shoulder. Yeah, which we've talked about that in past episodes of like, that is something that goes so far for us. Yeah, I think you're so right. Like, think about, and sometimes we are so irritable that I'm like, don't fucking look at me more. Like, if you look at me wrong, and I'm not even like aggressive like that, but you know, if it feels
that way sometimes. I mean, like, I think it's like,
the hormones can make us feel that way.
But I think we know that too. Yes. Like, even both of us having the conversation the other day, it's like we both are like, yes, I feel this way, but I know why. Yeah. And I'm not going to take it out on somebody, but I do feel
Let's get it out. Yeah. Well, that's the funny part. Like, as soon as you were like, I was like, ding, 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 ding. Hello. Tell me what's fucking bugging you right now. Because I'm like, let's just talk about it. Because that's like.
And it did feel better afterwards. Like, it was like, what's annoying you? Well, what's annoying you?
And they looked at me weird. Yeah. And I was like, that fucking sucks. And then we were like, okay, have a good day.
It really did happen.
That's how it happened. Like, and I think about like if a partner for me would be like, I'm not expecting you to talk to me. I'm just gonna put on music and lyrics. Yeah. The hit classic that you love so much. And I'm just gonna sit over here. You let me know if you need anything. I'd be
and the wink.
Thank you. With a blanket. And I would be so held. Yeah. You know, I'd be like, oh my God. And then in 10 minutes, I'd be fucking on you, being like, isn't this such a good film? And lie to me. Say yes. And I'm like literally giving a handbook at this point. But it's true. Like, I think that would be you would feel so seen. Yeah. And I've seen crying. It always makes me, go ahead.
Sorry. I think this transposes also to like, when women get pregnant. And so I think that can feel like a very lonely experience as well, because it's your body going through it. That like this can be, if you and your partner plan to have kids, like this could be almost a breeding ground. Like, you want to make them feel like you're in
Start the dialogue early and start the connection early. That's such a good point. Yeah. And then this actually brings up the point I was going to say, which is I've seen so many TikToks of like women crying and they're like, I'm hungry now. And the boyfriend or the husband's like, I know, I already ordered us food. Yeah. Like, you know, like being able to anticipate, like you don't have to be a mind reader.
Exactly.
You can ask for tips and things like that. Absolutely. But I'm like, that is so sweet. And I saw one of a pregnant woman recently.
I think I saw that one, too.
Where she's like, he ordered her food. She's like, I don't want it anymore. She was like, I'm sorry.
And then she was like, I want homemade ranch.
She was like, I want homemade ranch. She's like, the packet kind. And she's like, through tears, giving him very specific instructions. She's like, the packet kind with carrots.
Yeah.
And chocolate milk. And he's like, and chocolate milk. Okay,
Yeah.
baby, I'll be right back. And he comes back and he brings it and shows her eating it. And she's like, you're happy as a clam.
I know.
I'm like, you just have to be understanding.
Yeah.
Like, we know that you can eat the thing that we didn't want originally. Or we can donate it. I don't know. But I'm like, I think we just want to be understood and we want to be held.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's just the feeling held and feeling cared for, even if it's something like as little as, literally you can order anything on DoorDash.
Yes.
Like if it's just something as like a
A
little
treat
as food.
or like wine or something.
Yeah.
And like, I don't think it's hard to be curious too.
Yeah.
I think anytime a guy's talked to me about like, wait, you have a period for 12 days, and they're like, oh, is it painful? What's the copper IUD like? When they're brave enough to talk to me about it, it feels so much easier for me to like open up about when I am having symptoms, when I am feeling a certain way. Like if they approach it with kindness and curiosity instead of like, oh, it's her time of the month, we don't say anything and we hope that I get out alive. It's like,
not to
don't
make
do it.
this again about when like the more we're talking about this, more I realize like so much of the negative when it comes to sexual health and care falls on the women. The pain of having the baby, the pain of birth control, having like an IUD inserted, the pain of a period, the pain, like so much of like the struggle that women's bodies have to go through fall singularly on our bodies.
Yeah.
And so like as a partner with anybody that is with a person with a uterus, like remembering like a lot of that falls on this person and just trying to be there to make them feel like held, like you said.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like we just want it at the end of the day. Like we just want some understanding.
Yeah.
And like we're living with it. So like the more you're understanding about it,
Every month.
yeah, the more you're understanding about it.
IUD insertion is not easy.
Easy.
It
Oh
is
my God.
not easy.
By far, probably the most painful thing besides breaking a bone that I've experienced.
Let me tell you about my most recent
Yeah,
experience
let's
with
talk
an
about
IUD because the first time I got it when I was much younger, so my uterus was much softer. And so it took one doctor, and I remember my partner at the time was in the room with me, and even then, when it was one doctor and my softer uterus, he was like, I felt like I was watching somebody being raped.
Yeah.
Because it's literally, they're pulling open with metal prongs your uterus to stick a metal piece inside of you.
Yeah.
This time, a bit older. 3 doctors, each taking a turn at pulling my uterus open.
Yeah.
As I'm like crying and I'm like in this room by myself, like they're like letting me be on my phone, but I'm just like, this is so painful.
And they know it.
Yeah, and they're so sweet. It was 3 women and like they were so sweet, best doctors ever. Like, but like it took 3 of them.
Yeah, and they don't do local anesthesia.
No,
they should.
They should.
It's insane to me that they don't, and that's a whole other thing. It's pretty barbaric.
It is. But it's the only thing that actually makes sense too, because as we've talked about, I was on hormonal birth control for all of my like high school and like 20s and stuff like that. And when I went off of it, like I lost all my hair, like not all my hair, but a lot of hair.
I lost a shit ton of hair too. I lost a lot of weight too after I got off of it. I was working out so much when I was on hormonal birth control, and we'll get into. I want to get really into that on another episode, but I remember just people being like, "Oh my God, you look so different." And I was like, "It's uphill."
Yeah,
I have not changed anything else other than I was on a pill for 5 years. Now I'm off of it.
Yeah,
and it's so scary that those synthetic hormones can do so much.
It's so common now that you don't think about it. You think that this is like safe to take. It's this small little thing.
Yeah, harmless.
But you don't realize that you're putting this hormone into your body every day.
And they use it as a Band-Aid a lot for for PCOS, for hormonal acne. I went on it originally for hormonal acne. So it's like, I do want to wrap up with period sex.
Yes.
If we can. And then I do want to give a book recommendation at the end too.
Absolutely.
But what are your thoughts on period sex?
I think that if you are comfortable with it, you should do it. If you and your partner both feel okay with it, like I don't think there's a problem with having period sex. I don't think it's disgusting in any way. You shouldn't be made to feel dirty. I think it's completely natural, such as a period. And like if you like, I think go on.
Go forth, my son.
Yes. What about you?
I feel the same way. Yeah, I think originally before I had ever had period sex, I was really scared of it. And thankfully my first partner had no weirdness with it. So that set me up for success. Thanks.
You know who
Thanks.
you are.
Yeah. He knows. Yeah. So I'm like, that really helped. But
Yeah.
I've talked to so many people of all genders that are like, oh, I would never have sex with a woman on period. And I'm like, huh? And I'm like, okay, yeah, everyone has their own comfortability.
Sure,
but I'm like, it shouldn't be anything that's gross or like made to feel like disgusting,
Sure,
or like, how dare you even insinuate that we would have
Right.
sex on your period?
Yeah.
I would also go as far as saying sometimes it's a little more fun.
I would
It's like a slip and slide situation. Put a towel down, light some candles, have some fun with it.
Yeah. And then use the blood for a facial afterwards.
That's extreme, and I love it. I don't know if I co-sign, but I love the energy. But yeah, I think that's something that is like and then when I've had partners that have no chill about it, they're like, they're pretty much like, at the end of the day, I'm like, that was very graphic. But that makes me go like, oh, I want to have sex with you all the time because you have I'm not feeling like, oh, because I'm on my period, I can't. And we need to like
that
work
I should
around
feel
it.
disgusted by it. Like, absolutely.
And it honestly usually does help menstrual cramps too.
It
like
does.
There's a lot of studies around it actually helping symptoms.
It's helped start my period. It's also helped end my period.
Hey, lock it in. Yeah, no, that's true. Yeah, I've also had both of those experiences. I've also been like, oh shit, I'm bleeding. Fuck. You good? Thankfully, all parties were good.
Oh my God.
Anyway,
what books would you like to recommend?
I did want to recommend Woman Code. I think the author, I don't want to butcher her name. I think it's Alisa. I'll put it in the description of this episode. But that really helped me not only get off birth control, but really understand my period more and my period symptoms. And she has follow-up books about cycle syncing as well. She's a doctor as well as like a hormone specialist. And like it changed my like perspective on periods at a very impressionable and thank God age. Like I think I read it when I was 21 or something like that.
Yeah.
And that started my choice to get off birth control when I was 24.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love that.
So really highly recommend.
Yeah. But yeah, to wrap us up here, just to reiterate, you should never feel uncomfortable with talking about your period or that you're on your period. Feel free to like consult with your partner and let them know what you might need from them during like these times or like what you're experiencing so that they know. If you have a partner that experiences periods, be proactive, talk to them, ask them how you can be there for them so they don't feel alone in it. If you're just starting off on your journey and you're with your period, if you have any questions, please reach out. We're here to help. We're so happy you're here. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment, and we will see you next week on Femme Tell All.
What are you thankful for?
Oh, sorry. Just kidding. I'm thankful for this channel where we can have these conversations.
I'm too.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful. I'm going to say dark chocolate. I think that really sums up this episode.
Emotional, sweet.
They go hand in hand.
Yeah.
We love you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.